opening our special call meeting to talk about our football turf fields, and we're going to take a moment of silence to recognize our Cedarage family of Hunter that we lost this weekend, and just everyone involved. Our prayers and thoughts are with you. We'll take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Reeves, here to talk about the track and turf funding and the projects that we've received some information on.
Board members, we have 3 items on the agenda today. First, Mr. Johnson is going to go over the RFQ that was put together by Surrey County Schools, Wilkes County Schools, and Yadkin County Schools. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go through that RFQ really quickly. Second, we have Jeff Trexler here with us from Geo Services. Mr. Trexler is going to go through the products that have been selected for the fields. I'm not sure when I'm getting feedback.
Kim, mute your microphone.
There he goes. He's got it.
Now I think we got it. Nope.
How about now? There we go. There we got it. Thank you. We had a little feedback there, Ken.
Second, Mr. Trexler is going to go through the products, the timeline, the calendar, then let you ask him any questions. His son's got a tennis match at Elkin this afternoon, so he's hopeful that he can be able to attend his son's tennis match, but we are certainly grateful that he's joined us. Mr. Trexler lives in Watauga County.
Yes, sir.
And then we will discuss the numbers and the spreadsheet. Those are the 3 things on the agenda. So at this time, Mr. Johnson, I'll turn it over to you for agenda item number 1.
Okay, it's sort of a highlight as to how we got here today. After Senator Settle and the legislation was passed by the General Assembly allocating money to Surrey County, Wilkes County, and Yadkin County for conversion of the football fields from natural grass to turf and for improvements to the tracks, the 3 school boards joined together in what the statute calls an interlocal alliance for the purpose of seeing if we have 9 projects, would we be able to get more, a better price, more competitive price if we combined into one project. One of the ways in which governmental entities can construct buildings, other school facilities in North Carolina is the design-build process. We're all familiar with the process where we first hire an architect to design the plans, and then once that's completed, we put it out for bid. Design-build is another recognized procedure, and in this case, one company does both the design and the construction. And if it's for a unique product, such as a turf field, it appears that that's the most popular way to do that. I know, for example, Iredell Statesville, other school districts in this area, Ashe County, for example, use the same process. We prepared an extensive request for proposals. In design build, what you first do is advertise for a quality firm that can do both the design and the construction. Then you select from the responses the 3 firms that you feel are most qualified, and then from that 3 you select the one that you deem most qualified out of the 3. We issued our RFQ, request for qualifications, on November the 21st of 2023 and asked for responses by December 21, 2023. We received 6 responses. 3 were selected for additional interviews, and those interviews were conducted by a committee made up of representatives from all 3 school districts. At the conclusion of those interviews, it was the decision to go with Geo Services. And the statute says once you select the most qualified responder, you then negotiate a contract with that company. And if you are unsuccessful in negotiating the contract, then you go to your next choice. So we're in the process now of negotiating the contract with Geo Services. And that's what brings us to this meeting today. There are proposals available for the cost of the turf conversions and for the track improvements. So that's going to be presented to the board today for approval if possible. And I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you may have. We're all familiar with the AIA, or American Institute of Architects, contract forms that apply usually to school construction projects. There are also standard design build contracts that apply to projects like this. So we are prepared to use that standard contract if, in fact, we're able to reach an agreement with Geo Services. So Dr. Reeves, that tells us where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions?
I have, so when we do bids, when we bid out something, it'll come in, be 3 bids, come back in, or 4 bids, however many come back in, we select the lower price based on those 4 bids that come in. How do you find out if you've got a lower price if you only have 1 bid? I don't know, I'm just trying to process how we only have to have 1.
Well, I think that's why it says you select the firm that you feel like is most qualified, and then you try to negotiate a price that you feel is reasonable and competitive with that firm. The only way I know that you can say, are we getting a good price, is look at what maybe other school districts are paid for similar fields.
Was that done?
No, we don't.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, we know some of those are not compatible. The one in Ashe County, for example, they're using the most expensive track possible, the Mondo. So that one is not quite the same. We looked at the cost of what Allegheny paid for its turf field, and I don't know about the others that you visited.
What I have found is every field is a custom field. So to compare one price to another price, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but every field is custom. And what I have found, even on our fields, the Surrey Central field has more square footage than the other 2 fields that's inside the track. Just because of the configuration, it's just a little bit different. The East Surrey field is a long, narrow field where you have very little room for out of bounds, and you got just a couple more yards at Surrey Central. So when you ask us, do you compare numbers? Absolutely, we compare numbers, but we also looked at the quality of the product, and we also looked at the timeline. So all 3 of those factors: cost, quality of the product, and timeline. What the price that we're quoting today is a 59-ounce turf with a 10-year warranty. When we look at the product of other schools, one of those you named, it was a 52-ounce product with an 8-year warranty. So the product we're quoting is a better I will say, a product with 2 more years warranty, with a little more face weight. It's kind of like carpet in your house. You can, good, better, best. We're looking at a higher end turf because we're wanting to keep that turf as long as possible so it doesn't have to be replaced. We thought, so that's part of what we're looking at. And the track, I certainly did some comparisons on tracks, and that's also, you gotta know what's underneath the track. How much gravel you got? Did you have any gravel? So just in looking at a couple other school systems that have bid tracks, I can tell you that the track prices we've been given are, I think, extremely competitive. Robert feels the same way. GeoSurfaces has provided for us some cost comparisons where we're saving anywhere between 11 and 22% on the same product that they priced 2 years ago. So I've got those numbers where they have showed us by square foot price that the price point is in fact, I think, a very competitive price point. Again, it's a custom field. Every field's a little different. Products, when you grade them out, are different. And so to just say one turf field cost comparison versus another one, it's not, it's hard to compare them unless you know all the details of what was actually put down underneath the turf. Does it have a pad? Does it not have a pad? What's the infield? What's the face weight? Did they run into any subsurface issues on the track or on the field? And that might be the bottom line, but I feel like the price we're getting is a competitive price. I also feel like the company that has been selected can do the work and get it done in a timeline, and you've got that before you. That is essential for us to be able to have football in August. So, quality of the product, timeline, and cost. Those are the 3 main factors as the committee evaluated. Mr. Badgett, you were there on January the 12th. You heard the presentations from the other 2 companies.
And I would say, when we did have 5 companies respond to the request for qualification, only 3 asked to submit a bid. Well, all 5 submitted a bid for qualifications. We felt these 3 were the most because the other 2 seemed to either sub out most of their work or they were going to buy their product from somebody else. All 3 of them, they produced their own product to put down for the turf. And we asked all 3, but the purpose of that meeting was not to look at cost. It was to look at could they do it in timeline. But all 3 basically gave us the same numbers, anywhere from 11 to 22 to 23% savings by doing it 9 versus 1 or 3. And at least one of the other 3 that presented wouldn't even guarantee us that they could get it done by football
I'm
season.
good. How are you doing?
So that's a big
The
issue.
cost savings was over a single
Yes.
price field rather than over comparison to
Oh,
another company.
okay.
Does that make?
Oh,
Over another field.
Yeah, it's their
Yeah.
own price comparison. 2 years ago, we priced a single field for this much. And if you do it in a group of 9,
Right.
then you're gonna get 11 to 24%. Okay.
And part of the
I'm
deal
starting-
was,
I
they
can
would,
sort of
if you look at the
understand that.
schedule, they'll start, for example, on the grading on 1. That crew now can move to the next field right here. And I think you guys even mentioned to us, you never had this situation where you've got a field, 3 fields back. You gotta pick up and move, and when you've got to mobilize, demobilize, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, until a few weeks ago, I've never looked up a artificial turf company, don't know the first thing about it. Is there another company that's offering the same product, quality of the 59 ounce versus the 52 ounce with the same amount of warranty? Now that you sort of know the specs that you're looking at, that's my only question is there another company that has been compared with GeoSurfaces, which seems to be a very reputable company?
Once you select the vendor, then you begin negotiating. So we selected the vendor to begin that negotiation process. So yes, there are other companies that provide other turfs that I'm sure are equal with the face weight and with warranty. But those weren't the turfs that we saw. So when you compare the price those schools use to put those turfs in, is it a fair price or is it Is it one over another? I can't answer that because we didn't select those companies to have that negotiation with. In the RFQ process, we selected GeoSurfaces because, one, we felt like they do have a quality product. Two, they have put this product in multiple school systems across North Carolina, many of which I have gotten references from. They are all very well satisfied. Three, we felt like they could, the calendar, we were confident they could do the work in the time allocated. So I think it boiled down to those three things: qualifications, time, and the quality of the product. Then we begin this negotiation process. And again, on the track side, I can just tell you a neighboring county just spent $900,000 for one track. So you saw the numbers here as far as what we can get some of these tracks done for, and it's well under $900,000.
So how do we negotiate the price if we don't have anything to compare the price to? You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think, Mr. Johnson, Robert, all of us told GeoSurfaces, we've got to come to the table with your best price.
And I'm sure this is a phenomenal price. It's a great company. I just want to make sure that, even though it is an appropriation through the General Assembly, it's still tax money that we're using. So I'm just trying to ask the questions just to make sure that and I know y'all have, but.
Well, and I've spent 30 years in construction and the private industry, and a design build is a fairly common way to do it, like Dr. Reed said, is in a specialized situation. And I don't know that there is any other company that's exactly like what you have. And so to say, I want you to build one just like that, I'm not sure they could, because you make your own material out of Tennessee, I think you said?
Yes, sir. The product you're getting is actually manufactured in Dayton, Tennessee. Okay, so if you're familiar with Dayton, I don't know, it's just on the other side of Chattanooga going over toward Nashville. But yeah, the product is, it's extruded, 100% made and manufactured in Dayton, Tennessee. There are a lot of products that are manufactured in Dalton, Georgia, okay? But one of the biggest things that we hang our hat on is it's made in the USA. I will say one of the other products, I hope I'm not interjecting, but the product that everybody has selected and want to go with is our Iron Turf. It's woven, not tufted, okay? So tufted product, woven product, as you can see the backing on it. It's very robust. The way it's woven, it's ran through different picks and has the backing on it. I can tell you guys can grab it right now with a pair of needle-nose pliers. It's not going to pull out. It's bulletproof.
So for example, one of the other proposals they pitched to us was tufted.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not the same quality. So that's why I think it would be hard to bid something out and say, all right, give me a price to do this field.
And I'm going to say all three companies that we interviewed were really good companies and put quality products out across the country. So honestly, I think all three school systems felt good with all three companies. It really boiled down to timeline. What can we get for our money? Because we don't get these appropriations very often. And we wanted to get the very best quality, and that's one thing Senator Settle kept saying to us: get the best quality you can get the best quality you can get. And I was glad that he went with us to tour the day all three school systems went to. Let's see, we went to 3 different school systems here locally that have turf. So we put a lot of due diligence in. I want everybody to know that we want the very best for the least. That's something that we regularly try to negotiate the very best price. We've gone back and forth as much as we can. I do feel like the price that we've been quoted is a fair price. I know the track numbers are really, really good compared where we were even a couple years ago getting price quotes, trying to redo our tracks. I do think we're under a time schedule as we want to get this work done by August 1st, meaning you can see they want to get started on March 18th. So that's what brings us here together today, is really to try to see, is this can we move forward with the numbers that have been put in place. Jeff, would you care to go through the products?
Before you start, I'd just like to say, just to be completely honest and upfront, it was in open legislation, it was in the budget. So all three knew what the price we had, knew how much money we had to do this with. So they knew that they had to get the very best they could, price-wise, I think, to get the job, so.
Absolutely. School Board, Dr. Reeves, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Drone, thank you guys for letting us be here today. So yeah, what we did was, when we initially started meeting with them, with Surrey, that is, we started just discussing the different products and everything, and I think it was unanimous at that point in time that Iron Turf was the product they wanted. We've had Iron Turf installed on numerous fields around the district, which is what leads us to that product right there that I held up. So when we started talking about the turf in particular, we then started talking about VE options. What can we do to help minimize the cost, but yet give you guys a high-performance product? So what we've elected to do here is, and I think you've got this in your documents to share, but we're looking at doing Iron Turf on the belly of the field. And then around the perimeter, we're looking at doing this Geo Green blend, okay? Still gonna get a 10-year warranty, okay? I wanna make that very clear. So this is a 10-year product. You're getting a 10-year product warranty with both pieces, okay? That's one of the other things that we really take pride in, is because with it being our products that we make in-house, we're doing the install, you're gonna have two different products, but we're gonna carry the warranty and we're gonna honor the warranty on both products, okay? So right here, if y'all want to check this out before you leave today.
And Jeff, the reason for that is because it doesn't get the wear and tear and the abuse that.
100%, 100%. So just so you can see right here, the belly is the actual playing surface. So let's call it inside the sidelines of the field, we call that the belly. The perimeter is everything outside the belly. So of course, the belly is going to get all your wear and tear and rigor. The perimeter, of course, it's there to kind of contrast and flow with it, have an area for kids to warm up and so forth. So that's why it made sense to keep the Iron Turf on the belly, but then move the Geo Green blend, which is a monofilament and a slip film, just like the Iron Turf, but in a tufted form around the perimeter. You get a very similar look, same contrast, but you're going to have some cost savings.
And we saw that at North Iredale, and honestly, if you look very carefully, you could tell there was a difference, but it wasn't. Most people wouldn't be able to notice the difference. You want to pass those around?
Absolutely.
So the board members can see them, and maybe even just pass the box up. How heavy is that box? It's pretty heavy.
I got it, it's not bad.
So can I ask you a question about the warranty?
Absolutely.
So on,
So just so you know, this is Iron Turf on the left, which will be the belly, and this is going to be on the perimeter. That's kind of how it looks on contrast.
so if I go buy shingles today, and I buy 3-tab shingles, they'll give you a 15, 20-year warranty, whatever it is, but anybody in their right mind knows it ain't gonna last 15 years or 20 years. It's gonna have to be replaced prior to that. Do you believe that that will actually last that long?
100%.
All I need is.
And didn't you mention to us in that meeting of the average is a little longer than 10 years? Did you say 12?
That field right there, if you take care of it and do the proper maintenance on it, you should get 12 years out of that field, no problem. And the maintenance on these fields it's very easy. At the end of the install, we're going to do a closeout document procedure with each school. They'll be shown how to groom the field, proper maintenance. You'll have signage put around the fields that basically help indicate do's and don'ts. For example, you're not going to want fireworks around the field. There's certain things like that, but we're going to give you all that signage to help protect the field and hold its integrity as long as possible.
And the piece of equipment that would pull the rubber up and redistribute?
Yes, there is a greens groomer included with each school. And that can be pulled with a golf cart, a gator, something of that nature.
So what's the weakness of this one compared to this one?
Well, so the one in your right hand is the Iron Turf. It's the woven. It's a 59 ounce. The one in your left hand is the tufted, which will go around the belly. It's still a great product. Still going to have a 10-year warranty. It's just not woven. That's the biggest difference.
The woven into the back.
Correct.
Yes, I loop through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the tufting process. You can see where it's kind of punched through the back, and then you have the molten that goes over it to kind of seal it and hold it in.
I got you.
And then you're going to see holes in the backings of each of those pieces of turf you should see. Those are gonna be weep holes for the water to soak through and go into the crushed stone base that'll be underneath it.
Mr. Whitaker, I'd hand these to you, but I can't.
I believe he's seen one, hasn't he?
Yes,
Oh, you're muted, I think.
I think you're back muted. There you are.
I've got an understanding of what you're talking about. I did have a question, as far as the timeline on the other two school districts, is that comparable to our timelines with the 3 schools?
It is. It is indeed. I mean, that is the task at hand. We have 9 fields that we are committed 100% to getting done by August 1st.
And a little bit of a difference, Yakin's got 2, Wilkes has 4, and we have 3, so
Yes, sir.
there's a little bit of difference.
Very good. Thank you for bringing that up. So yes, you know, we've got one district that's a little heavy, one that's going to be just a hair light. But the way we've got the schedule worked out, I mean, I will tell you guys, I'm looking at it right here. We're actually.
I had another question also. Does the product that we're looking at, does it have the cooling material?
No.
No, sir.
Where you wet it and it helps with the cooling?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
What is the
That is
cost,
available, but it's not in our quote.
what is the cost of all 3 football fields if you do like Kent's talking about with the cooling? Is there already a price worked up for that? Or?
I think we do. We can price right up on it.
you know, it's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
The GeoCool was quite a bit more expensive. It's just a different infield.
Well, there's a couple things that happen, guys. So when you move to the cooling agent or the cooling product and you remove the SBR, SBR is basically crumb rubber and sand, which is what's in that box there. When you remove that and you go to let's say a non-rubberized product or an organic product, you then have to introduce a shock pad underneath that turf as well. Okay? So you're not only adding the GeoCool infill to it, but you're now having to introduce a pad underneath the turf. So that's why the price goes up. It'd be like installing carpet in your house and not putting a pad underneath it. It's gonna be hard.
Right.
So you have to put the shock pad under it, then the turf, and then you put the infill so you can make those G-Max ratings so it's safe for all the kids that play on it, plain and simple. So there's a lot more to it than just adding the GeoCool. It's not just eliminating the SBR, and then of course there's more labor because you gotta install a pad and everything else with it. So the cost per square foot climbs.
Was it under the 3.75 if all 3 football fields are done with the cooling?
No. Don't believe so.
Was not.
Don't believe so.
What I remember is with the ancillary items, the number was over budget if we tried the GeoCool, so I didn't even consider it.
Okay, okay.
because
Yes.
We couldn't, I mean, some of those ancillary items are just needed.
The fence, the concrete, the conduit.
Yeah, some of those things, that's kind of like your base model, and then you add to the options, so
Right.
I didn't consider it just because of that reason, because I knew it was well out of our reach. And the watering of the GeoCool is another, I think that's a whole nother conversation about, does it really keep the turf cooler? You got to add water to it, then the evaporation of the water is what actually cools the turf. So that's just a whole nother conversation. And I think the product that we have is, I mean, I think that's a really solid product.
I will say that is standard basis of design for majority of schools is crumb rubber, turf over stone base.
And Jeff, this is the field that Watauga High School has, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
I know it's probably just an aesthetic thing. Can you get the rubber in green, or does it have to be in black? Because
You can get the rubber in green,
additional cost.
but yeah, it goes to it's almost like a powder coating process. It gets coated with like with that green material on the outside.
Yeah,
I will say it will flake off eventually.
okay. So it's just something on the outside of it. The
Yes,
material's
sir.
not green, it's just a coat of painting to it, okay.
Correct, yeah, there's a coating that goes on it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I can tell you that, looking at the schedule right now, we are having construction meetings every Thursday. And I can tell you right now, we are on target to start March 12th. Just to let you know.
So can we talk timeline now? Or
Sure,
yeah.
And guys, please ask any questions you feel necessary. That's what I'm here.
So you're looking starting March 12th. And then a lot of the work is going to be done during April and May. Do we have, I mean, this is in a perfect world. And we all know construction there, especially when we're working outside, there's going to be weather. My huge concern, and I've said this from the beginning, is that we'll come down to August and we may not be ready. And if our football fields aren't ready in August, we're going to be running out of Surrey County. That's just all there is. I mean, that's the truth of the truth. What do we have? What do we have as far as contingency plan built in to assure that if we sign a contract that we are completed by August? Is there anything?
There's
There's the entire month of July
Right.
in the event that you had inclement weather days or whatever, rain or whatever be the case. I mean, most of these projects are finishing mid to late June.
June 23rd is the latest one I
So
see.
you've really got the entire month of July.
So if you don't mind, Fred, before you interject on contingency, let me tell you about the process real quick. So we'll have our excavation and base crews come in. Okay, so we're gonna have 3 of those crews running, hard as they can go. So what'll happen is you'll have a base crew starting on, let's call it March 12th. That base crew will come in, they'll do the demo, they'll do the drainage, they'll do the stone base, and then that crew will then move on to the next field or school. And then our turf install crew will come in. They'll install the turf, and then they'll do the finish work on that. So it's kind of all gonna just, if you can imagine having like an overhead projector and a transparency, it's all just gonna overlay over top of each other as the process keeps going along. That makes sense?
And y'all would start all 3 districts at the same time?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you'll have a crew in Surrey County that's dedicated just to Surrey County?
Well, so it's I'm gonna say yes and no, because what it is, I mean, we're gonna have 3 crews going, but for example, we'll have a crew going on a Surrey, Wilkes, and a Yadkin school right out of the gate.
Right.
And then the next one they'll roll over and they'll do the same thing. And then at the end, you're gonna have, or, you know, depending on how we do the schedule, but at some point, you're gonna have 2 Wilkes County schools going at one time.
Right.
But, you know, in regards to Surrey, yes, you're always gonna have, by probably, let's call it 4 weeks into the process, you're gonna have dozers and work going on all 3 schools at one time. And I will say, when they get going, they get going. I mean, there's not a lot of wasted time. They're gonna work evenings. I'll just be honest with you, they're gonna work as late as they can sometimes, but yes, we have a timeline ahead of us, and that is our goal, and we are gonna hit it. We will not fail.
Lincoln County Schools put in 4 geosurface fields, the same turf that we're looking at, the 59 ounce. 3 of the 4 were 8 weeks, 1 went 11 weeks.
Have you all ever taken on this many fields at one time? At the same time?
We actually just finished up, a project down south that we did right at 1 million square feet in 8 weeks.
At different locations?
Yes.
That's comforting.
Yeah.
There are 2 things in the contract that speak to this too. Number one, the contract says that you have access 24/7 to the field, so that's something the board needs to know. It does say they can work Saturdays, Sundays, whenever. There's a $500 a day penalty if they don't meet substantial completion. It's $500 a day.
Is that sort of a standard number?
That's what that's what I've seen in the other contract.
That'll be your liquidated damages.
And believe me, you know what we'll take from it if it don't hit is not worth $500. We want
No,
you to get
that's-
finished.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing in there that I like that well, the cost of the performance bond and the payment bond is included in the price, and that's usually a pretty high figure, but that's something that we negotiated when we talked to them earlier, that we wanted the board to know exactly what the dollar is, not that there's gonna be plus or minus anything. So unless we enter into a change order, this is it.
Yes.
Jeff, what's your biggest concern about getting these done on time? Besides weather? Are you gonna use local grading contractors and use your own crews?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, I mean, our estimators have been working around the clock, talking to Stone and different places to do all this. I mean, you know, anytime we can use our own guys to do the work, it's only gonna benefit you, right? So that's, you know, for one, those in the room don't really know about us, we are one of the few turnkey installers in the country. And when I say turnkey, I mean the design, the build, the install, the warranty. I joke sometimes and say, you know, we're like one rope to choke. Because in all honesty, like I said, if you were to get a field with a pad and the track and everything, yeah, you're gonna have like 4 or 5 products around the facility, but those are all our products, so we're gonna carry that warranty. Whereas if you maybe were to go to someone else and they do a different pad, you may have a pad made by another manufacturer, so then, okay, what happens, and I know I'm getting deep in the weeds here, but what happens is let's say you have a pad go wrong in a field, when you pull the field up, well now, okay, who's taking ownership of the pad? Right? So they're all our products. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we hang our hat on, is that we handle it all in-house, we deal with it.
I like that.
And your office, this district office is handling this as Mooresville, right?
Mooresville, North
Not
Carolina.
far away.
And you live in Watauga County,
I live in Boone, North Carolina, yes,
so
sir.
you're not far.
No, I'm not. I'm always a call away.
Well, I think no matter which company is doing this work, it could be a natural disaster or anything.
Oh, yeah.
If you wasn't even using this company, and another company, something could happen that you can't foresee, that could hold them up. I mean, that's just, tornadoes come through and down to 4 or 5 buildings on the football field.
I will say, we've done our geotechnical work, the surveys are completed. I mean, we are on or ahead of schedule right now as it is, and that's how we're gonna be able to pull this off. You know, Robert kindly granted us access to the facilities within days of being notified of this, and we started hitting it as hard as we can go. We know what kind of soils we have underneath the fields right now. We know what kind of stone base we have underneath tracks right now, and for those of you that maybe aren't aware, track surfacing is totally different than a parking lot. It's just the way we have to go about it to make sure that the soils are there, that the foundation is there, the slope is there so that water can drain. There's just so many variables that come with it. But it's, I will say it's going to be an amazing project when it's done. And I guarantee you that it'll be well received by everybody in the community.
Jeff, can you give us an update on the soil or the permits for erosion control, those permits that we gave you permission to start pulling last week or maybe week before, I guess it was last week?
The permits have been, to my knowledge, have been applied for, and it's underway.
So we're just waiting?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. And then what will happen is before the fields get ordered or anything, you guys will get like a submittal package, and you guys will have to give it a stamp of approval. So I mean, you'll make sure the letters are right, the spelling is right, everything is correct, and then we will not order the turf until that point in time.
And maybe between both of you, you've been out and looked at them, Robert, you know the condition, probably of these tracks as well as anybody. What is the actual condition of East Surrey, North Surrey as far as the asphalt, the cracks, things like that? What would you say that you would rate the condition of those two to be in? We all know that Surrey Central's got cream of the crop as far as track goes now. What about the other two?
Well, 2 years ago, when I met with Geo Services track representative, and we looked at all 3 of the tracks, and Surrey Central, of course, was the one that they felt like at that time could be stripped, the latex stripped, and a new base put right back on top of the asphalt. The other two had some issues with the substrate, and there was a lot of cracking in the asphalt, a lot of grass growing up in those cracks, and they recommended total replacement of those two due to the fact of the stress cracks and all in the asphalt. So that's pretty much.
And the reason I asked that question is the work that we've got here that you've included on all would include repairing it, so that the cracks go away. Asphalt, I know, asphalt doesn't crack on the surface, it cracks way down below.
Yes,
And right, it comes up to the surface, so if that's all corrected, then we should, okay.
I think,
Is there a price on here just for asphalt at all three tracks?
I didn't include asphalt. There is for 2 of the 3. I don't think, not on this spreadsheet.
So we're 4.5 million to do asphalt at East Surrey and North Surrey and urethane at Surrey Central. And that's with a $250,000 contingency budget for the entire project?
So they did a subsurface test. They included a 125 for North Surrey, 125 for East Surrey. They did not feel like a contingency was needed for Surrey Central because the soils were the best.
For the football field?
Yes.
yeah, that would be basically for soil stabilization. So what we did is when we did our geotechnical at the other 2 schools, we found just some things when we went 4 feet that just kind of threw up some flags.
Right.
So, long story short, we'll do our proof roll and everything once we get in there doing it, and then that's when I will say that number in there, I think that's just a safe number to have in there to cover everything. And when we did Surrey Central, we did not see a need to do that because the soils there were stable and they were suitable, okay? Mr. Badgey, one thing I think to just kind of echo what you said a minute ago about the asphalt and everything is, if you go into this process and doing everything, it is in your best interest to do it right, if you're going to do it. In regards to the asphalt, I'm just going to use an old term like we use up home, but if you just wanted to keep the asphalt there and put an overlay, it's kind of like putting lipstick on a pig. So, knowing that you've been fortunate enough to get what you get, to make it right and last for the longest time, get the biggest bang for your buck, you're going to want to do what we have down.
And we've learned that with our tennis courts.
So why wouldn't you want the urethane at all three schools then?
Cost. Urethane cost is quite a bit more than
I mean,
asphalt.
Central's in my district, but I'm just saying, why would you only want urethane at Surrey Central versus, is it because of their track program? They use it more?
Well, honestly, I was trying to give the board the most inexpensive cost. So if you put Surrey Central, first of all, they saved $150,000.
Skip.
The track program is important to Surrey Central. It has been for a long time. They regularly hold track meets. They have an electronic timing system. They have held regionals in the past. So they held back $150,000. And our other schools, every school's been a little different in how they spent those monies. The urethane track is it's not the best because Mondo is the best, but Mondo is again at a level of expense that we just can't afford. The urethane track is one that we think is a step above the latex, which is what we have now.
It is IAAF certified as well, so if you were to run a meet on it, and let's say one of the student athletes were to, for whatever reason, just set a record, it'll hold. So it's IAAF certified.
So if you just asphalt East Surrey, North Surrey, and that happens, the record won't hold?
That is correct.
Well, but we don't hold meets at those 2, because it's not. So, and that would also allow us to use Surrey Central. The other 2 schools can use it because it's centrally located. And I've already talked to Mrs. Holloway, and that shouldn't be a problem as long as we're out of schedule. So we can use it.
There's not track meets at East Surrey, North Surrey?
No.
They're just practicing there.
They practice there.
And what the asphalt would do would allow them to continue to practice at home, to do their meets.
Right. I thought it was.
Yeah, at East Surrey, when we put the new bleachers in on the visitor side, it's basically, it's crowding one of the lanes, so you're now down to basically a 5-lane track. It says 6, but there's also an outside fence that crowds that outside lane, and so that's one reason we wanted to go back with a 5-lane versus a 6-lane. So the track at East Surrey is a bit narrow. North Surrey, the track is down in the bottom, and there's very little parking. There's never been bathrooms. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah. Well, will be after this spring, thanks to Robert. But, you know, we get the road down there, we get a parking lot, I think that track will see more use. But you know where it's at now. I remember Meadowview held a track meet there when Wedley was running track several years ago, but it is a haul, and my mom and dad came, and, you know, I was thinking, how are they gonna get down here walking down? And my dad, bad back, and he brought a chair with him. But, you know, it's not easy to get to. I think that's gonna change when we get this road built at North Surrey. The thing about putting asphalt down now is you can come back a year or 2 years and put latex, you can put urethane over top of the asphalt. But I think, especially East Surrey, Jeff, you might wanna help me here, but the drainage, like, when you do the football field, if you were to wait and do the track, if you did those at 2 different times, does that present a drainage challenge doing those at 2 separate times? Because really, I know you're trying to get you're going to put a slip drain around the field where the water will basically slope off the track toward the slip drain and slope off the field toward the slip drain. You want to get that right, and doing it all at the same time, I think makes sense there.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, so you're saying if we were to do just a field and not touch the asphalt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would, I mean, you're gonna be better to do it one fell swoop, 100%.
Because what Todd described to me is you would put around the field, you're going to put a curb, a concrete curb.
Around the inside of the oval. So right here, kind of to give you a visual, around the inside of the oval right here, this will be a concrete curb, which we will then attach a nailer board to hold the turf in place. So this will be all new concrete curb around the whole perimeter of that field.
Then you'll pave to it with the track.
Yes.
So if you leave that existing track and you do the concrete curb, so you could have some areas of elevation where there's a lip of the concrete curb, like it could be some places 4 inches, 2 inches.
Tripping hazard, yes.
Yeah. And then I guess on the track, some of the water could pond up on the inside of the track, on that inside lane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so.
I don't know which way it slopes.
So in all reality, if you were to go stand on one of these tracks right now, let's say, it's gonna feel and look flat. But when we did our surveys, we've got some tracks that are out as much as a foot from one end to the other. So if you put down this concrete curb and you don't correct what's going on around the track, it all won't flow together. And then you're gonna have puddling, and then you're gonna have issues and settling. So if you do the asphalt and the stone all the way around at one time, everything's gonna flow, everything's gonna drain, it's gonna be on the right slope. It hits slot drains going around the field, which then go into the trench drains and all the watersheds.
And I think, I'm sorry.
But there ain't no way to get on that bill for $3.75 million for appropriations.
And I think what concerns me most about the tracks, especially these Surrey, is you're going to cross that track to get to the football field. You just mentioned dozers. You know, I know you're going to do everything you can to keep from, but there's going to have to be some kind of damage to those because of the weight of those equipment.
Yeah, I will say, we put down pressure treated plywood, we'll put down rubber, we'll put down different things on it. And then I will say this to keep in mind, fields will be completed for the start of football season, okay? So if tracks, let's just say, aren't ready by start of football season, you're gonna have artificial turf left over from the fields. You can lay that across the tracks for students, cheerleaders, bands to walk across the track if there's any construction going on. That was a common thing that we do this time of year always when it gets that time of season. You know, the field's the main priority because track season's not going on in the fall, it's a spring sport.
What's the estimated timeline on the tracks? If we went with all 3 tracks, by the end of the year, something probably?
Absolutely.
I think there's a curing process.
I'm showing striping. I'm showing the last track getting striped July 25th. Now, do remember that when you redo a track, full reclamation, your asphalt has to cure 30 days before you complete your surface. So you're gonna have a curing time. And then once that curing time hits, so I'm showing, like, for a good example, asphalt paving going down, let's say completing on May 30th, a cure time, then track surfacing beginning on June 28th. So you're not, you're not up into September or October by all means.
That definitely would be some more.
So 5 lane, 6 lane, 7 lane, is that the way it works out?
Well, that's kind of what they have now. It's 6, 6, 7 is what East Surrey North have, I believe, Robert, and then Surrey Central's got a 7 lane.
But the 6,
Yeah,
7.
but this one we're cutting down to 5 because of the cut on the fence.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any more questions? Jeff, do you have anything else you
And
want?
they requested that. The
East Surrey
school requested that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, in all honesty, it's just, it's been there's been a lot of good work going into this thus far. And I gotta tell you guys, I feel 100% confident in saying this, but you guys are gonna get an amazing product and you're gonna really be pleased with your end result. There's no doubt about it.
Mr. Whitaker, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. As far as service that may be provided in conjunction with warranty work or otherwise, we've got some repair work that has to be done. Is anything built in the contract for service work?
So what you guys are gonna have is, we're gonna show you, upon completion, we will show whomever the individual is on site, whether, Robert, you have someone you wanna, assign that to, or if there's already somebody on site, but we're gonna show them how to do the overall maintenance on the fields, that's just the required general maintenance. And then we'll come out every year and we'll comb the field, we'll just walk it, check it, make sure it's got its integrity and everything. And then at that point in time, if there's a repair being needed made, we'll take care of it. I will say if there was something, just God forbid, if there was something to happen in an area that needed repair during the season, or a coach or someone were to see something, our office is in Mooresville. We usually have about a 24-hour response time. So it's quick turnaround to come fix something if you need it. Believe it or not, I've done my fair share of repairs as well. So you may end up seeing me if something happens. Does that answer
But
your question?
is there a distinction between warranty work, which would not entail any additional cost, versus other normal wear and tear servicing that we needed?
No, the only thing that wouldn't deem warranty work would be something that was self-inflicted. Like, for example, if you drove a big truck across the field with a hot exhaust and it were to melt the artificial turf, or if you were to shoot off fireworks on the field, a tractor across it, anything under normal wear and tear, we're going to be taken care of.
So our number one lesson, I think we heard from all three of you, no fireworks on these fields, period. So no halftime shows and all that mess, no minor league baseball, crazy
Yeah,
stuff. There you go.
Fireworks are kind of a big deal, and anything, if you're going to drive something across it, it needs to be something like a John Deere Gator, a UTV, a golf cart, nothing with a tractor tire that can really bite down and grab it.
Yeah.
What about an ambulance?
100%.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's got pneumatic tires on it, and they're not grippy. You don't have to bring an ambulance on the field, but the reality is, yes, it can go on the field.
I was going to ask, he said he'd provide the mowers.
No ag pattern tires.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Let me follow up on something Mr. Whitaker said. I think it was in the train of thought there. The warranty is a complete warranty. It is not a prorated warranty, correct?
That is correct.
It's just as good on the last day of the 10 years as it is on day one.
Non-prorated warranty. Yes, sir.
You don't get those anymore.
You said that 11 to 24% is off of 2 years ago prices, is that right?
Well, I would say this, it's up to pricing as long as 2 years ago, as far back as 2 years.
Bring up sheet up.
So how long do you truthfully expect it to last? Not that I think you'd lie to me, but I'm saying, do you think it'll actually last 12 years, 15 years? What do you think it'll last?
I'll tell you this much, the technology is changing every year. I mean, it's always changing, it's always evolving, it's always getting better. There's fields out there that are 100% slip film that are 15 years old. It's just gonna, I mean, it's honestly, it's like anything else. If you take care of it and you do what's the proper maintenance on it, which is not hard, it's gonna last. I mean, it really is.
So my big concern always has been, and I said this from the beginning, it's pulling up something God placed there naturally and putting something down that is not natural. Kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's sort of like, and this was my analogy, was like buying a toupee for a man with a head full of hair. It just didn't make any sense, you know. So I'm kind of, 15 years from now, when we replace it, what's going to be the cost then is my, you know.
Well, I will say it's gonna be substantially less. And the reason why I say that is because the base work, the drainage, the curb, everything is already gonna be there. It's gonna be referred to as what you call a tear off and replacement.
Okay. So if you did one of those today, what is it?
$500,000.
3 fields, 3.3, 1.1.
Half a million.
Half, okay.
$500,000 what?
If, once all the
To do a
drainage,
tear off and replacement.
base work, all that's been done 15 years from now, or 10 years from now, if it does have to be replaced, the number's more like 500,000 instead of 1.1 because all of the majors are already
The
together.
infrastructure's already there.
And that's one of the questions I ask, if we get it 12 years out, now what then? Because, you know, the questions have been, wait a minute, I gotta go back and do this again, but you explained to us, you just take off the carpet, check what's
Yeah,
underneath.
it would actually be referred to as what we call a tear off and replacement, meaning the base work has been done, the curb's installed, the drainage is all there. It's basically just taking the existing turf off, getting rid of it, and then putting down a new field. There might be some minor base work. When I say minor, you know, we probably get a laser level out there and just run across it one good time, make sure the soils are compacted and everything. But that's, yeah, it's called a tear off and replacement.
Because that's what worried me, if we had another 1.25 coming up in 10 years, 12 years.
Well, you're gonna save a lot of money on maintenance, that could be put
Put
back.
back. Yeah.
Over 10 years.
We just have to realize that in our budgets, we're gonna need to put some money back for it. Yes. Any other questions?
I'm having a little difficulty in hearing all the conversation, but when we went to one of the schools on our tours, they indicated that in annual maintenance costs, they saved $30,000 in a period of a year. Have we heard anything from other schools on savings, maintenance cost, or any estimates? Or has the representative heard of any estimates?
Mr. Whitaker, that's not a question that I posed to superintendents. Robert, Mr. Trexler, you were the maintenance director in Watauga County, correct?
I was at one time.
So are you aware of any savings that Watauga High School has incurred by putting the turf down?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I don't ever recall doing like a ROI or anything as that when we were there, but I can tell you, there's one area of the state, let's just say, where we have multiple fields. They did a little bit of an ROI, and I think they were saving somewhere around $600,000 a year. Now, keep in mind, they had multiple fields, but they drilled it down as far as gasoline for the mowers, hourly wages, paint, chalk, fertilizer, pesticides, the whole 9 yards. So when you start funneling all those items in that big picture, yeah, the savings could be substantial.
I'd like to see the schools be putting that back in a designated account. You know, what they're spending now. Because it'd be very easy to move that somewhere else to take care of another issue.
The only thing that should prevent any type of athletic event not occurring on one of these fields is lightning.
That's what?
Lightning. Outside of that, snow, monsoon rain, you guys will be able to play.
Lightning within 5 miles, they gotta shut it down anyway, right?
Correct.
This little boy ain't gonna get here.
No, those were metal light poles and metal bleachers.
Don't have it. I appreciate you answering the questions that I had on that, because I know I had several questions I'm ignorant on AstroTurf.
It's okay.
If you could leave your cell phone number that way, if fields aren't done by August, Surrey Countyans can call you. But no, I appreciate you. I
No, I
sincerely
appreciate your all's time as well. Thank you for the invite.
What time's the tennis match start?
It started about 2 minutes ago, but I'm good, gentlemen. Really, this is important. There's some swatches here. I'm leaving with Mr. Drone. These are all the different colors that you would see on the fields and the end zones and so forth. So feel free to look at these if you have any questions. I am going to take that box with me. I have another meeting tomorrow morning. I'm going to share that with. Feel free to keep that if you guys want to.
So that's an interesting point. The colored areas we're looking at would be colored turf. They wouldn't be painted.
That is correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Clark gonna use it, plays golf ball on the hit.
Can I be his tee? He gets way too much practice.
This is one somebody's done used.
Yeah. I
Too
think that
much,
was,
apparently.
that was been slept on a little bit.
Somebody laid that one down and slid down here.
Thank you, Mr. Traxler.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right.
Go enjoy your,
Go enjoy your tennis match.
your child's tennis matches.
It's amazing the difference.
Listen, hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
You too.
Appreciate y'all.
Be careful.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
Don't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to
is the,
He's trying to give that to me. Just
I
just take
Let
it.
me explain that. I need to
Okay.
stand up and
Yeah.
explain that. Let me,
Okay.
board members, if you're okay, I'll move into the third segment of our agenda, and I'm gonna step right over here. So you heard Mr. Trexler talk about, this is the belly of the track. These areas are called D zones, I guess because it looks like a D. So what you have is one option at East Surrey. If you choose to do the track at Surrey Central, then you do the field and the track together, right? So you got your D zones, you got your long jump pits, your pole vault pits, all that's inside. Also at Surrey Central, you've got this area. This is used in the regionals. This is alternate. This is this is the chute. You may see that chute number 3.
I was gonna answer.
That's chute number 3 right here. No, is that right? This is chute number 3.
Right. The other shot put.
That's for your shot put. So we're not.
Is there any way the screen can be, my
Yeah,
screen
can you
be?
Yeah, hang tight, I'll catch you.
I like looking at,
Carry it
Mr.
around.
Badgett.
No, you don't
Looks
wanna
good,
look
but I don't, I'd rather be looking at.
There you go.
Can you see it now?
So now one of
Oh,
them,
yeah,
one of them's
okay,
attacking
that's
on my
better.
hair, and the other's attacking on, it looks all together.
So at East Surrey High School, I'm gonna skip down here to East Surrey. Can you see me, Mr. Whitaker? What I'll do is I'll bring it down here. So if you do the field and you don't do if you do the field and you don't do the track, I gave you an option to think about doing this D zone. Because what you're gonna have is inside this track, you've got grass here now. And you're gonna have you're gonna have a concrete barrier between the turf and this grass if you don't do this area. So what we asked them to do was an alternate price to just do this area so that at least you wouldn't have this lip, because what you would have is a variation in elevation. Could be as much as 6 inches.
And you'd have to mow it.
in track?
Yeah.
Okay, I got
To
you.
just do this little D zone, it's $123,000, and you would have to mow it.
Which would possibly throw it back up on the field, that's not.
So
But
the
if you do
price
the track, you don't have to include the D zone, it's already in the track.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the price you have as an alternate is $123,000 to do these 2 pits, and then you would pave this. That's why this is paved in black.
Okay.
Now, if you do the track, which is,
It's all included.
it's all included. This is included in that price of the track. Does that make sense, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Okay. Robert, you got anything to add to that conversation?
No, sir. No, that's true.
And this is obviously, if you choose to do Surrey Central, that's taken care of. At North Surrey, let me point this out at North Surrey, the track is separate from the field, which in some ways makes this process probably easier. One of the ancillary items we included, if you look at, I included here, ancillary items include hardwired play clocks. They wanted, all the coaches wanted a hardwired play clock, not a Bluetooth or wireless clock. They wanted 2 comm boxes, and they wanted to be able to plug those in on each sideline, and they wanted the conduit. And then they wanted, at North Surrey, we don't have ADA access to the visitor bleachers. So at North Surrey, one of the alternates was to put concrete paving in this. This is grass right here from the fence to this fence. This is all grass. So one of the prices we have is to concrete this entire area and then bring a sidewalk here and tie it into this bleachers. So that's one of the alternates. The other alternate is to, this is a bank from here to here, is remove this turf, or remove the grass and just put this, the really cheap, the cheapest turf that they can to create no maintenance both on this bank and on this bank out to this fence. So that was also one of the alternates at North Surrey High School.
Is that in this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in there. Would that get all 3 of our football fields to have to be ADA compliant, visitor and home bleachers? Because I know we did it at East Surrey, right, when they replaced the visitors.
Yeah.
So all 3 would be,
We need to pour a concrete sidewalk at Surrey Central.
okay.
But
There's
other than
something
that, they are.
That's the bleachers.
The bleachers are ADA compliant.
Channel
Okay.
turf.
We just gotta get a hat.
Get to it, okay.
And
Right now, they're rolling through grass.
fencing at North Surrey.
How much would it take to
We
fix
gotta
that?
replace that fence.
I'd love to be ADA.
Any fencing at East
We
Surrey?
definitely want to do that with this
We need to
project.
ask Robert that question. Is there any fencing at East Surrey or Surrey Central included in these numbers?
No.
I didn't think so. Just North Surrey because of this, because of the turf.
Well, North Surrey has like an inner fence,
Yeah.
where Surrey Central and East Surrey don't. They have a fence that's like in front of the bleachers.
Yeah.
So,
That doesn't have to be replaced, right?
correct.
Well, where do we get the money to do all this thing? The extra money, do we need some extra money?
Yes. Well,
750,000.
we need
I'm gonna turn you back around.
750,000.
How much do we have in our lottery fund?
That's fine.
So there was, I'm gonna go back and sit
Either
down.
one
with
of you
Mr.
prefer not to look at?
Me? Let me do this. You can look at Dr. Reed, how's that? I'm gonna sit behind TJ.
So the question, Mr. Whitaker, can you hear me?
If that's the best you can do, that'll be fine.
You're not getting all day, Darby.
The question from Mr. Goins was how much additional monies are needed. So you see on the form that I provided, if you do the asphalt tracks at both East Surrey and North Surrey, and you do the urethane track at Surrey Central, you need $746,000. We had 2.4 million in our lottery funds, and I think that is an option. If you chose to use lottery funds, then that would require approval by the county commissioners. Would require a request and then obviously approval. You have some money in your capital fund balance, not quite enough to cover that. Those are your 2 options as far as additional funding.
Well, personally, I don't like going to fund balance. I'd rather use it. You know, it's our money. I know they got to approve it, but they can't, no one else can use it but us.
You do have $250,000 that, in this contract, that's a contingency budget. So, if that money's not needed, that money could be applied to this total You can't count on that, I can't count on that, but it is, whatever that total amount is, I mean hypothetically, it could be less than 750.
Well, you could, when you went to the county commissioners, you could tell them that it's 250 contingency, that we might not need
Yeah.
that much lottery money.
But those are the options, and what I would, based on the contract, Mr. Johnson, what I saw is these prices are good for 14 days. And what I would recommend to the board is taking action, if you so choose, on the items that are within the 3.75. You can take action now, then if you want to request those additional dollars, then I think that helps our timeline. It certainly helps them get started. Obviously, you kind of know the time crunch we're under. Then we would have 10 to 14 days to begin working on those other 2 asphalt tracks if that was approved, and we can move forward. And then I'm not sure if we would write a change order to the original contract or not. I'm not sure how we could get that worked out, but I think that would be a way that could happen. So that's just an option to give the board where we could move forward on what funds you do have, and then we could continue to work on those additional funds that are needed.
What kind of track was that?
I think it's your thing.
And you said that was locally installed?
It's not an asphalt price.
No.
So, but the base is asphalt, was it your thing?
Yeah.
And you said that was locally installed, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you take a look at the Surrey Central track, their urethane track was 572.
That's the better part.
Yeah, and that's including chute number 3. That's including that.
How much did they use it over, I think they need
What's the
it
difference?
in the beast.
572 and 876. That's $300,000. 250,
Yeah.
So number 3 is 3.739, and that is already having the 150
Yes, sir.
added in. So the number that we'd actually be using of the grant would only be 3.589, is that right?
Correct.
No, I think it would be the 3739 of the 3.5, and we've already got 150 in the skip, we would add to that, correct?
So that actual number is 3.889.
Yes, you're exactly
Well, we
right.
wouldn't need it out of that money.
The number was 3.8 something, subtract 150 using Surrey Central High School skip funds, and that brings us to 3739424 with 250 in contingency.
Did you get all that, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes, I'm familiar with those figures.
Okay, good.
So what is it we need to approve today? I'm confused. I mean, I get we gotta go back, in order to use any of that lottery money, we have to go back to the commission. I get that. So what do we need to approve in order for them to get started?
We're gonna go with them to use them as a contract. And which route we're gonna take.
That third line, the 3 fields and Surrey Central High School track would be what they would need to get. That's within the 3.739 for them to get started today. That's what we want to do.
And that does include the contingency that Mr. Bledsoe asked about the last time.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the top number 3, because you got 2 number 3s. No, you got, oh wait, never mind. The third one down.
Yeah.
Got you.
So Travis, if we approve that amount, what we're looking for, and then we go to the county commissioners, can we add it to it then to do the work? I'm saying approve what we got money for today, and then get in touch with the county commissioners on the lottery money.
The prices they gave us, they told me were good for 14 days.
So we need to get some, a yes or no from the county commissioner in
Yes.
14 days.
Yes.
I'm thinking along
Unless
the
we
line.
get an extension on holding the prices. And I think they'd probably grant it if we're moving in that direction.
But I think too, if you look, the track construction, the earliest one I see starting is April the 8th. So it's not like they're gonna start working on it tomorrow.
Right.
If we approve the tracks.
And the school they're gonna start with is North Surrey, that doesn't have a track.
What was the, they're just done the irrigation on the practice field at North Surrey. What was the cost on that? Roughly? They use SCS funds for that, right?
It was $25,000.
And that's just down on the end of the football field, right?
We had to run a 2-inch water main down there as well.
It was only 25,000 to put irrigation on the whole field? That's good.
No, we had it on the regular field, right?
I'm talking about practice field.
We're talking about just down to the right of the football field, right? Is that where are you talking about down in the bottom?
The bottom.
That's because, right, we did the 2-inch line for that and for the bathroom.
Yep.
Gotcha.
There'll be four, if the board approves this, there'll be 4 documents. One is the general conditions, and those are the general conditions that apply to all of the schools. Then there'll be a separate contract for each of the high schools. So if we come back later with the additional money to do the other tracks, then there'll be just an amendment or change order to those contracts. So we can go ahead and approve this today as the superintendent has recommended.
And I also broke it out so you could see the price difference if you just did one more high school track. The price difference on the asphalt for East Surrey and the price difference on the asphalt for North Surrey. And then of course you understand the D zone now. So I tried to give you all 3 options. 4 options really.
Well, I definitely would recommend, and this is just me, for fairness, that we at least try to go to the commissioners and get the money to pave those other 2, with the idea that next year or the year after, we ask the commissioners for the money to put the urethane overlay on those 2. Because I'm really, as a high school athlete, it's just not the same to practice on an asphalt track and then go run on a urethane track when you're in your meets. So, but that's, or maybe we go back with latex, I don't know, but I just think for a fairness issue to all 3, for right now, we can use Surrey Central. But that would be a capital, I guess, request to them in the future, if we wanted to do that. That would just be my recommendation.
I think the asphalt base gives you options. They give you options. You don't have to put a latex over top of it. You can. That latex has lasted, I think that was a 2007 original overlay. So we're in 24. It's almost got 20 years out of it. I think the urethane, you're going to see a 15 to 20 year lifespan, if not more, with proper maintenance.
I think everybody needs to know, we didn't go ask for these funds. While we appreciate the general, I appreciate, I know we all, I don't mean to speak for everybody, we appreciate the General Assembly appropriating these funds. We don't have enough money to do it all. And it's hard for me to spend 30% of our savings in lottery funds when we have 3 crumbling high schools. That, it's going to, and I know our fund balance is not going to be a drop in the bucket for what we need in the high schools. And I understand the point that it's cheaper to do it now than it would be 2 or 3 years from now. I just can't support, it's not fair that just Surrey Central gets a track. But we don't have money to do all 3 tracks. I wish we would just got a little bigger appropriation so we had it all. But I personally can't support pulling any savings, but I'm one person, that's just me.
You're on that lottery.
Right.
And there is another option, a combination of some of the fund balance and the capital fund balance and some of the lottery. But really, when you lump those 2 together, it's the same purpose, right? So it doesn't matter really which one you pull it from.
Well, I agree on the 3 high schools and all that, but that's what the lottery does, is not, you can't place all the windows for that problem.
I know. It's just hard for me, just the image that it portrays, that large projects that we need to tackle, and we're gonna pull money for a track. That's just, And my daughter runs track, so I'm not anti-track. That's just my 2 cents.
One of the biggest things I see as a parent, now, or as a taxpayer, we started this education lottery in North Carolina, and everybody thinking that all of this money was gonna be going into the education. Yeah, got an education lottery, and it turns out that 95% of it goes to make paychecks and print cards and do such and such and such and such, and we get 5% of what is spent here. I guess that's the way that is. So, and then that says, the word that they use is the education lottery. So I'm real cautious about spending anything that's not education, if that makes any sense. I'm cautious about it.
But this report.
That capital balance and all, that I would tend, well,
They got gold paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
that's
report for
right.
23 says that they provided 4.8 billion to
who?
education up in the front, to education, that's what it says, didn't it? What does that say?
4.3 billion in ticket sales.
Oh, okay, that's different. And 10 billion.
10 billion raised for state's public education since the start of the lottery.
how much paid out?
Well, it says since the start of the lottery.
They got good sense and they didn't print that number because they know people are fixing to do it.
There's some $1 million numbers back here that make you look at all. There.
That they pay. I gotta wonder how much money has been, and that's, the funny thing, we'll take a chance on losing our money, but we'd never donate to something, you know. That's just my,
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's the biggest joke in the world that you call it education lottery, because we know better.
Most people think the same thing.
so if we go down to that 1, 2, 3, the third line, 3 turf fields with ancillary items and Surrey Central Track, sheet number 3, your thing, 572, and we approve that right now. How long do we have before we have to make a decision on the other and decide where it comes from?
The contract says the price was good for 14 days, so I think you got a couple weeks, we could ask for an extension. What I would say, if you look at the schedule,
April 8th was the first one I see, the track construction.
yeah, it looks like North Surrey track construction was gonna begin April the 8th. Looks like East Surrey track construction was gonna begin April 29th. So the price, they say, is good for 14 days, but you may have a little more time if you could get an extension on that price. I think what this does is it certainly gets them started, Mr. Hutchins, on the fields, which is obviously the time crunch that we're all faced with.
Well, one of the reasons you put a time limit on the price rate is dirt costs going up. And the only thing that I can see changing would be asphalt prices, because the grading should be about the same for the tracks.
But we just need to remember that if we chose to do East Surrey's track, they're gonna need to know that, because during the construction, demolition of the football field,
Good point.
they're gonna need to be doing the same to the track.
Yeah, good point on that.
So they need to know that by 4/8.
Yeah.
We are at 2/27.
It'd be a lot easier on them when they start demolition, to just start demolition and come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
I think we ought to just, whatever we're gonna do, just do it, not kick a can. That's me personally.
But it's funny, the track construction in North Surrey starts the same day as the base construction at East Surrey, April 8th. So it's the same date, basically. Well, and we could, Mr. Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could approve whatever, if we wanted to approve the 2 other tracks, we could approve it contingent on us going to the county commissioners and approving us using lottery money.
Subject to funding approval by the county commissioners.
So we could do it at one time if we like. Mr. Whitaker, you have any comments or questions?
You disappeared.
Thank you. We got you muted again, I believe.
Looking at your thing covering over the asphalt tracks, is there a certain number of years, maybe Mr. Grong could address that? Is there a certain number of years we'd have to put that on? after we pour the asphalt?
To get a good bond. Good question.
Is he asking how long you gotta wait before
To
you?
make it,
How
fit-
can-
to make
how
it
long
fixed?
is-
Wait.
What's the longest you can go and still put it on?
And still
And then
put it
it's still
on.
bonded to the asphalt.
Forever.
So you wouldn't have to do it.
And you could wait 5 years if you wanted to. or-
Okay, he said 5 years, or as long as you wanted to, so there's some kind of process to heat up the asphalt?
I don't think there's no limitation on time
Okay.
when you could
How long?
put that surface on the asphalt.
Okay.
It's just a 30-day curing period for the asphalt.
One of the things you said about Central, when they were gonna grind off the latex, then they were just gonna put the urethane right back on it, right? So
Correct.
same, okay, I got you. So no time limit, Mr. Whitaker, I don't think.
No time limit. Yeah.
It has to be over 50 degrees.
Yeah, has to be over a certain temperature, 50 degrees, and at least 30 days after paving.
What all exactly can we use the lottery funds for?
Mr. Whitaker, did you hear that question?
No.
Mr. Bledsoe asked what all could we use the lottery funds for?
I'm not sure about ball field.
Okay.
So they're getting the stuff together for that.
Lottery funds can be used for new construction, expansion. Auditor's already checked on, athletic facilities, tracks. What's not eligible is equipment, technology, furniture, and debt service.
Debt service.
That's not eligible, according to what auditor said. Now, the R&R funds that we talked about using for safety enhancements cannot be used for athletics or parking lots, but can be used for expansions, improvements to classrooms, renovation, classroom facilities, and design fees.
Go back to the debt service. I thought it's been used for that now.
According to what auditor checked on, it said it's not eligible. Equipment, technology, furniture, debt service.
I was under the impression that the county commissioners, back at the time that 3 elementary schools were built, that they agreed to let them have that lottery money to pay debt service on those buildings. Am I wrong?
I think I was under that understanding originally. I think what may be happening is they're using some of those lottery funds to help with special projects.
Like putting in a boiler or something, or air conditioning?
New roofs.
What is our next big roof project that's gonna come up, Robert?
For the next budget cycle, I'm gonna recommend the Graham Building at Copeland Elementary and Surrey Central's varsity gymnasium.
You said that's chipping off already, didn't you?
Roughly costing how much you think? It was what, 700,000 to do Central Middle School? Is that right?
835.
That was just paint. This was
Just paint.
replacing.
Those two, I would say we probably need to request 500,000 to 600,000.
So what's that leave our balance in? Lottery fund.
Well, we would be going to the commissioners first to help us provide some of those.
What number do we have in lottery fund?
2.4,
2462953.
to be exact.
Exactly.
2.4 what?
2462953.
Where they got the money to do all this before the
So
lottery?
that would leave us 1.6.
Yes.
You used it all, or you took the 700 and, what was it, 46? And you'll need at least 600,000 of that.
My thoughts are, we're gonna have to go and get money for these high schools, whatever path that we choose to do that. And
We'll have to do one.
get money for the high schools, to do a renovation of the 3 high schools, whatever path we decide to take on that. In my mind, at that time, I would rather put the tracks in at East Surrey and North Surrey and get them to good tracks when we're doing that. And with 2.4, I'd rather use 30% of that and roof things that have to be done. Like at Copeland and Surrey Central. We've got to do that.
Is that where they pull that money? When we go to the budget request and they give us the money for special appropriations?
Some of it's pulled from there, because you know out on the right-hand side of that form, it'll say lottery funds. But we never know that. We never know how it's being used.
Yeah. And that's not a static number. We get money into that every year. So
The
there'll be.
lottery fund?
Yes.
Yeah, how many year buildup is that? What is it? Yeah,
One
2,
and a
3,
half?
4.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, it's just kind of wondering, what is it, what, are we bringing in $1 million a year?
Good question.
If we spend 700,000, are we doing, because July's coming,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? New fiscal year's coming. If we're gonna get $1 million then, that makes a little bit of difference, but I'm still, like I said, I'm still a little funny about.
It's not as clear as this report right here.
That's correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's aggravating that we have to sit and hash this out, and we're about to have to cut positions.
Well, to me, it's ridiculous of the money going to the county commission. And it's got to be spent for schools anyway. That money should be coming here and, I mean, I'm gonna be gone, but the board should be deciding where that money goes, except places where it specifically says you can't use it.
Right.
Y'all should be making a decision.
Didn't understand the way
We'll vote for it.
Go ahead.
I don't know what it would take to get it sent to us.
I think that's the general assembly.
Yeah. All passed the lottery.
I just, man, it just seems unfair to me to do one
Just got it today.
and not, to do one and not do all three.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a taxpayer, I'm like, gosh.
But I think one of the benefits of doing it this way, he just told us that one of the tracks was a foot off from one end to the other. By him doing it, or by them doing it, we know it's gonna be right. And then we could add a little coating, a layer to it when we got the money, if we did for one of the high schools.
I mean, it'd been nice if we'd have just got 5 million. I'd do urethane tracks at all 3 high schools, we got 3 turfs.
I think in hindsight, that would have been the way he would have went, but just didn't know it at the time.
You hate to talk about raising taxes, but, you know, a sales tax is for the schools, at least. I've been told that 47% of the people in Surrey County pay about 87% of the property taxes.
Absolutely.
I thought 39% was I heard.
Well,
Pay all of it.
something in that
Yeah, less
neighborhood.
than 40, yeah, pay all of it.
Sales tax would get everybody.
I mean, well, they got 30 new students that just come in the school system, and probably,
Well, we know this being election year, taxes are not gonna be raised.
no.
In Raleigh, Orange, and Surrey, so.
You'll have to find some money sometime for these buildings, and the only fair tax, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, is the sales tax. You don't have to put it on groceries.
Yeah.
I mean, KLAX.
Well, I feel like we've been presented this opportunity. And the best thing we can do is make the best use of the funds that's coming. And maybe tie it into fairness and tie it in with, other things that we're looking at, other considerations, like for East Surrey, they've got a track around the field. So it makes sense to me that we proceed on. I think we might regret down the road, looking at costs we put in the field, but not make the improvements around that field, which really ties in together. So I'm looking at that as a consideration. And then you look at fairness with the 3 high schools that it makes sense maybe with North Surrey, since that track is detached from the field, that we can still proceed with the improvements on the field and leave the track off. But in matter of fairness, I think and timing, I think it would be better served to go ahead and include asphalt on that track as well. It'd be 30% of our lottery funds that are available if we did all 3 fields. I mean, all three tracks. So that's pretty much where I am.
Well, Mr. Whitaker.
I know, I understand, and I have some of the same concerns that Mr. Bledsoe voiced, and I think we all have those concerns, but, with, you know, like Mr. Bledsoe said, you know, and we're making everyone aware, this is money that was directed to us from, the General Assembly for a specific purpose, and we're just trying to make the best use of it and be fair with all three high schools.
And I know, Mr. Whitaker, I know you see the 746,000 that we need.
I do.
But Dr. Reeves had a sheet here that he showed us from talking to the Stokes County Superintendent. And May of '23, South Stokes locally bid their track with a urethane finish. It was $826,000 for one track. And we're talking about getting two paved for $750. And I understand it doesn't have the coating on it, but I just, to me, like, I agree with everything you just said, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't think we're gonna get this opportunity again to do this, so do we maximize every dollar, or, you know, just my opinion, we're not gonna get that opportunity again for that price.
What happens if we just do the 3 football fields and do no tracks? What happens to the rest of the money that's left over?
It'd be about $400,000.
I think it'll go back to the state. I mean, it's only allocated for turf fields and tracks specifically, so if it's not spent, then I don't think we'd be able to use it on anything else.
So it'd be a $434,000 plus whatever we say that contingency.
And another consideration for North Surrey is, you know, we're making enhancements to that area of the campus with the road and access and, public restrooms and the whole, what we're doing. So it makes sense, I think, to move forward with that as well.
So on this one, East Surrey, the D zone, Surrey Central Track and Chute 3. That's without any asphalt at East Surrey, correct?
That's no track, it's
That's
just
no
that
track,
D
just
zone.
as D zone.
And the whole purpose of me putting that number is so you don't have that uneven lip
Right.
between the back of the end zone and what you would have on that grass area, because I think you'd have you're gonna have somebody having to mow the grass inside the track. And I think you're gonna have a trip hazard.
Safety.
What about,
Safety issue.
what about if you do Surrey Central?
You could still have grade variances
Oh,
between the field and the track, even if you did the D zone.
Yes.
You could still have it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if we did? Which one?
Well, in light of what he just said, that doesn't matter. You said you could still have variances, even if you just, because I was thinking, what if you do the track at Surrey Central, the D zone at East Surrey, you do those ancillary things at North Surrey, where it's the concrete walkway around and the cheaper AstroTurf up there beside the visitors bleachers, where would we be at then? We would still be over, of course, but
About 112, is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're,
All three of those bottom 3 numbers are plus 150, right? Coming from Surrey Central's $150,000
Correct.
skip money.
Yes.
Okay.
Would we need $112,000 to do that, Mr. Bledsoe? From everything, for the D
no.
zone at East Surrey?
it actually, we'd have to add in the track for, or what does that cost? No, that is, you're right, yeah. Because that includes the ancillary items at North Surrey,
Yeah, the T-zone.
the D zone at East Surrey. So then all 3 schools are getting something. But Mr. Drolan had said that the grade may be off between the D zone and the track at East Surrey.
As much as?
as much, how in the world are we off the foot?
Don't know,
We would have to get
yeah.
we'd have to get their data, because they've done the surveys and
I mean, Lord, I can rate by eye less than two.
he said some of them are a foot different from one end to the other, so.
So basically, that's 100 yards, 300 feet. It's a quarter-mile track,
That's
all the way
hilarious.
around.
I will, board members, I'll interject. I've been texting with Audra. This is a rough average, but I think you can safely assume we're gonna see about a $400,000 a year revenue stream from lottery funds that go $400,000 a year. Now, listen, it varies as much. I see one number on here, one year it was 700,000, another year it was 500, another year it was 600, another year it was 400, another year it was 204. So I'm just giving you a rough average. I think I feel pretty confident saying that 2.4 million number, it looks like there's about 400,000 a year going in there as a revenue source from the NC lottery funds. And then the
Right now,
interest,
we got 2.4 million.
yes.
Guess it depends on how good the marketing budget is for lottery. How many tickets they sell. Well, gentlemen, what do you think? We know we need to make a decision on what we're gonna tell them to start on immediately, so that they can press forward with it. So we've got several options there.
I feel a lot better about the company. I've called and talked to people in other counties, and I feel good about the company. I'm still a little concerned about the timeline, but it is what it is.
Well, like I said, one company told us that they couldn't even give us it,
Right.
and the other one was right up against August 15th.
Is there a time, there's not a time frame on the money that it has to be spent, right?
I don't think so.
But it makes sense to do it now instead of waiting until the winter.
Well, I agree with what everybody said, but about the other buildings needing repair work. I guess maybe they'll do something when they fall in, they might do. But, I'm for doing the projects, all the projects, and asking for lottery money of the 740,000. So, Surrey Central, and East Surrey, North Surrey can get the tracks along with it. And, you know, so Surrey Central's getting a little better service, but there's more stuff, there's more needs and stuff going on about Surrey Central.
And they're also putting money toward that better surface.
And it's centrally located, so others can use it, yeah.
Those are monies that they could have spent on something else, but that was a choice that they made.
Well, and that's me, because I hate to kick the can down the road. And, I mean, we need more SROs, we need buildings, we need a blind man to find our needs.
Is the Surrey Central track a 7-lane track?
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with what y'all say. I mean, you're entirely right.
Y'all looking for a motion?
I just can't do it.
You'll need to make one from down here to Myrtle Beach?
Hey, you're getting the beach vacation, so why not?
You can, you're the only one that's done it so far.
I'll make a motion that we choose option, I had it as option 5, which is Surrey Central track with the urethane coating, all 3 fields, football fields, East Surrey asphalt track, and the North Surrey replacing their track with asphalt. It'll be about 30% of our lottery funds that it would take to accomplish that, barring that the contingencies is absorbed in the construction process. So maybe we can get by a little bit less if we don't have to, those contingencies don't materialize. So I'll make a motion.
So can I, just to clarify that before we go further, that would be the 700?
Subject to commissioners approving it.
Right, that would take it to them and ask for their approval for the 746,
That's what I just
154.
said.
Yeah,
Now, what do we do if they don't approve?
Let's go back.
I move that we take the first option, being what our funds will cover.
With the Surrey Central track only?
Yes,
Okay,
and all 3 football fields.
okay.
And that being without the D zone improvements in these areas, right?
Correct.
If the track is paved, we don't need the D-zone, right? Am I
Right.
understanding that right?
Right.
What about the cement at North Surrey and the sidewalk to the bleachers?
That's
That's
included.
in there.
It's
In the
included.
first part.
It's in all of
That's
it.
an ancillary part.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that sound good for your motion, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to do all 3 tracks, the Surrey Central track with urethane covering, East Surrey and North Surrey paving only, and the ancillary items added here under our list. And asking contingent on the commissioners approving $746,154 fund used from our lottery funds. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Goins. Any further discussion after almost 2 hours? Yes, sir.
Is it possible for us to up the daily liquidated damages?
We, yes, we have not signed a contract yet, so yes, we can try to get it up.
Because if they 100% guarantee it's going to be done,
Then it shouldn't matter.
it shouldn't matter. I'd like to propose $2,500 a day.
Okay, do we want to vote on this first, or do we want to?
Yeah,
Does
that's
this
the-
approve the contract? This approves the contract, this first and second.
Yeah, but we haven't,
So we can talk
it,
about
it
that.
it approves,
Whichever way.
it approves
I got you.
entering into a contract with this company. Now, as far as liquidated damages or timelines on the contract, that's another matter.
No,
We can
okay.
take that.
Okay, I'm on it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, we've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Now,
Aye. Any opposed, no?
No,
Okay.
I hate to say no, I just can't.
So now you want to make the timeline and the liquidated damages, is that what you, or?
That's my only thing, it's just, and that may be a deal breaker for them. If it is, I can come off of that, but I think if they're 100% confident that our fields will be done,
I'm gonna say, if this thing shows 513 being the last one that's finished would be East Surrey, you have to go to East Surrey and tell them if they're not playing football on their field, I ain't gonna win. I mean, that'll be a haymaker right there. So,
Yeah, what I think would be a good idea, if you'll just give me a range, let me try to negotiate that liquidated damages. If I can't get 2,500, I was thinking more like, you probably wouldn't have any objection going to 1,000, but if you want,
tell them 2,500 to 10,000, choose.
okay, we can try that.
I just think that they, I hope it's a moot point, but I just want to show my sincerity, and I want everybody to know the work that's been done. This was not Dr. Reeves, Dale, Mr. Johnson, y'all worked on this for a long time. And this is not a fly-by-night. We're just choosing something. Robert,
Yeah.
Robert, I apologize for not including you.
Not a problem.
So this is not a fly-by-night thing by any stretch of imagination. And they've been vetted and every avenue pursued to make sure that these are done before August.
I just see so many unforeseeable things that could happen. I mean, you could have a pipeline cut down.
That's why I'm saying, when a man says-
Well, I think
you don't make them pay
I think, Mr. Johnson, you need to explain that there are factors that come into construction that are forgiven.
Yeah.
And the Board of Education is not gonna have a leg to stand on, or whatever be the case.
Right.
Weather delays. Those are always figured into a construction project, and those days are forgiven.
Correct.
Typically, there's a certain number though, based on average year per year, anything over that's what they're gonna forgive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now if there's a pipe, there's a water line under the field that isn't marked, and they hit it, you know, that could be something else, because that's not their fault, they were,
But just things like that would be the only reason that I could see an act of God that they couldn't complete this in the time that they've got listed on here.
That's what I'm saying.
Would be-
Barring an act of God.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Well, you couldn't, I don't think.
Concerned about a pandemic, that's the only thing.
yeah. Yeah, if there's a pandemic, we're not gonna be playing football.
no, we're not gonna do it.
There's a pandemic, I quit.
I think,
Okay.
do we want to go ahead and give Mr. Johnson the authority to negotiate and arrange
Between.
for the negotiate, the liquidated debt?
I'm gonna try to get 2,500.
Well, I'm not for it. I'm not for it, but I'm just minority.
Well, you can come down.
Well, what would you
Well,
propose?
yeah, what do you want?
What, $1,000?
Okay,
rather than
so
$500.
give him a range between 1,000 and 2,500, let him negotiate? Are you okay with that?
Well, I'm just say $1,000 for,
Which is double what we've got now, or we would normally
we
do.
could ask for it, they might say no, we want the contract. That's my recommendation, and y'all's opinion's worth as much as mine.
Is that something you need consensus on or vote, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I do need a high and a low, if 1,000 to 250, or 2,500. I think I can work with that.
Okay. Somebody'd like to make a motion, then we would give them a range of $1,000 to $2,500 on liquidated damages to negotiate. Mr. Hutchins?
I will make a motion.
Second. Mr. Goins? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, no? Thank you. Think you can take care of that?
Who opposed?
Do it.
Nobody?
No.
Yeah, we had that time delay between here and Myrtle Beach. It must be some kind of internet problem. Or maybe it's just something shining off the top of my head. Sorry, Mr. Wood.
It's an umbrella delay.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Reed, do we have anything else we need to discuss?
No, sir.
We need to adjourn, since we never really called the meeting. Well, we did call it, where did we? Can I get a motion, we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Bledsoe to adjourn our meeting.
Kent, you gotta stay on.
Uh-oh, you gotta stay longer.
I'm here.
No, we going home, you just stay.
Second by Mr. Hutchins. Doug? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no? Thank you, gentlemen. This is not easy, but I appreciate your consideration, and every comment was valuable. Thank you for that.